Deep Pow chasing. Pokes will have an offense that puts up points like it did in the Holgerson-Monken days. Now, to me, that is pretty damn bold. I think we're starting out with one here that is quite bold because Oklahoma State, boy, that offense last year was rough. Now, I know Alan Bowman is not walking through that door again. And usually when you say that, it means, I'd be saying like, well, Brandon Whedon ain't walking through that door. Well, Alan Bowman ain't walking through that door either. And that part is a good thing. No offense to Alan Bowman. He was a very nice guy. I enjoyed talking to him last year at Big 12 Media Days. But Oklahoma State last year was 13th in the conference. They scored 22 points per game in Big 12 games. Not very good. That was with a Doak Walker Award winner at running back as well in Ollie Gordon. So that offense was not very good. Now, if you want to tell me that Haas Haney is going to be an elite quarterback this year, okay. I always blank on the other kid. It's not Rangel, Zane Flores. If you want to tell me that Flores is going to be an elite quarterback this year, okay. I have my doubts. I think there's good reason to have doubt about that, but nobody really saw Sam Leavitt coming as an elite quarterback last year. So, hey, maybe it could happen, but I still think that's why this becomes a bold prediction. Doug Meacham as offensive coordinator, it's not the most inspiring thing in the world to me. I will be honest. Now, look, you got to give Mike Gundy some respect. Mike Gundy has been an excellent coach, and many times when left for dead, he churns out something that is much better than you would anticipate. But Doug Meacham, the last time that he was an offensive coordinator, it was in the Big 12, and it was for a TCU team that was 7th in the 10-team Big 12 in scoring offense in 2021. Before that, he was offensive coordinator at Kansas, and I think that was the David Beatty era, right? So, I don't know. I'm not feeling great about that. I don't get great warm, fuzzy feelings, but that's why this is bold. So, P-Pan, you understood the assignment. That is a bold hot take. That is a hot take. From the Big 12. So well done. Well done with that. I guess maybe that should have been my lead. You understood the assignment. Let's get to this one from a West Virginia fan. Says, I'll be the West Virginia homer. Mountaineers to the Big 12 championship. That is from Greg. Greg is predicting a West Virginia Big 12 championship. Now, here's the thing. Obviously, on its face, that is a very bold prediction. West Virginia is going to be picked probably in the bottom 5 of the conference. West Virginia has overturned 2/3 to 3/4 of the roster. It's a brand new coaching staff. It's been a long time since Rich Rod has been a head coach at the Power 4 level. And the last time that he was, it was a much different, NIL, transfer portal, totally different environment. There's a lot that needs to get worked out in Morgantown for this to happen. However, and so I will still say, definitely a hot take. However, not as hot as you might think, because if you look at the Big 12 standings last year, the team that was picked last, Arizona State, obviously won the league. And if we were doing this on June 25th, 2024, and somebody came in with their hottest take being that Arizona State would win the Big 12 championship, I would have thought it sounded more ridiculous June 25th, 24 than this does June 25th, 25. So with that context in mind, it is not quite as hot as you might think. But I have a hard time seeing the path. If there's a Cam Scattaboo, though, on this West Virginia roster, that would be a nice start. So does West Virginia have someone that could totally carry the load like that? We'll see. I think that's a little bit doubtful, but hey, I get it. Hey, Jaheim White, great running back, man. Great running back. Is he Cam Scattaboo? I don't know. Greg, you understood the assignment. That is a good hot take. Am I down to the last one already? Oh, we've got Coal Country WVU. That's what it is. My apologies here. It's Coal Country WVU. Here we go. This is an interesting one. Not about West Virginia. Houston finishes with a better overall record than Iowa State. How about that? Not quite as spicy, I think, as the other ones that we have here. If you are looking at Big 12 projected win totals for next year, you've got 7.5 projected wins for Iowa State, and you've got 5.5 projected wins for Houston. So it's only a 2-game difference. Whereas, we're talking about like West Virginia, if they're picked like 13th, say in the Big 12 this year, or 12th, I feel like the expectation for that would be like 4-8, 5-7. Iowa State won 11 games last year. They're a 4-8, 5-7 team, probably winning at least 10 games. You're talking about like a 5-game difference there if you're picking West Virginia to win the league. Here, you're only talking about, at least in terms of preseason projections, like a 3-game difference to make up. Less hot of a take. You must be a big Connor Wegman believer if you're going to do this. It will certainly take Connor Wegman being awesome. Remember, Houston is also breaking in 2 different coordinators this year. Sheil Wood is off at Texas Tech now. Probably neutralized a bit by, Willie Fritz. I think knows defense very, very well. But this is like warm. It's warm. I think Iowa State will still be very good. Ceiling may not be quite as high because they lost the receivers that they had last year. But they will still be a very good team that should be, I think, in contention for a Big 12 championship. To me, they're kind of a tier 2, like borderline tier 1. We're straddling the line of tier 1, tier 2. Big 12 championship contender this year. So to me, it's like Houston's a year or 2 away probably from that. But that's a fun one and a fun one to explore. Cold Country Podcast. I think the way it happens is that Connor Wegman is totally rejuvenated and is a stud with Houston. Houston continues to play very good defense because it's Willie Fritz. And then Iowa State, the offense tanks because they lost 2 incredible college receivers that are now both playing for the Houston Texans. Finally, this one I felt like was the most interesting. And honestly, of all these that we've seen, this might be the hottest. Raider Red Sun. What's up, Raider Red Sun? Raider Red Sun says 3 Big 12 head coaches get fired, 2 before the end of the season. And that's the hot part of this, is that 2 get fired before the end of the season. Man. Okay, so I started going through this. I was like, well, who would you consider like kind of on the hot seat right now in the Big 12? I mean, Brent Brennan to me would be the most likely fireable candidate, which may seem a little crazy because he's only in year 2. But man, last year was that bad during a season with real expectations. And there was already, I mean, if you pay attention to, the Arizona media crew out there, I think, guys like Jason Shear do a really good job. It sounded like there was already some chatter about that last year. Like, was that so bad that with Fafita and McMillan to tank the way that they did, miss a bowl game, not look very competitive in a lot of these losses? If there was already talk about it last year, then you could see the wheels really falling off. And if the wheels really fall off this year, then that's one I could see because of that chatter last year. Maybe that does happen in season. Like, that's one guy maybe could get fired in season. I still would kind of doubt that, but maybe. I'm looking at their schedule this year and how bad it could get off to from a start. So they've got Hawaii and Weber State at home to start the year. I don't know. I'd be very surprised if he lost. I mean, Weber State can be a pretty good FCS program. Then K-State at home on a Friday. They've got to go to Iowa State. They've got Oklahoma State at home, BYU at Houston, at Colorado. I mean, you can see the case here where Big 12 play starts like 1-5 or something. You get to the end of the year. I don't know. There's not a single game there, I guess, that I would look at and say, well, yeah, I mean, they should win that. I mean, I get, Oklahoma State at home, maybe. See what Cincinnati is by the end of the year. But yeah, you could see that getting really rocky and having a disastrous season, and maybe he gets fired. But anybody else, like during the season, Scott Satterfield, Scott Satterfield's another guy that probably has to, I mean, at the very least, get to a bowl game. But I just don't know is Satterfield on shaky enough ground that like he would get fired mid-season. They start with Nebraska, but then Bowling Green, Northwestern State. They're at Kansas, Iowa State, UCF, at Oklahoma State. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see this falling apart so much at the beginning of the year that we get to a point where Scott Satterfield's getting fired. And then, I don't know. I mean, Dave Aranda was like about ready to be run out of town and then rallied at the end of last year and put together a nice offseason here that has expectations fairly high. Maybe there's a chance if Dave Aranda really does struggle this year that he would be somebody that gets fired. I guess that's another one I would put in there. If it turns right back into a pumpkin, it's a sub 500 year. I could definitely see that. But I don't know about Baylor doing that within the season. And Mike Gundy is like the only guy that I would think of, like some Oklahoma State fans probably consider him to be a bit of a, like they're a little tired of it. And if he struggles again, they would want him gone. But Gundy, you can't fire Gundy. Like you're certainly not firing him mid-season. Like that's not happening to a guy who's, the legendary coach that he is at that school. So I don't know. I don't think there's anybody else I'm missing in terms of someone that seems like they're like really on the hot seat going into the season. So I guess I'll put it that way. I think it's a scorching hot take, a scorching hot take to say that would happen. 3 Big 12 coaches fired and 2 fired mid-season. But Raider Red Sun, that's why I said hot take. You understood the assignment. Thank you for that. Guys, go reply to the tweet if you want to on Twitter at JL Kurtz to give me your hottest Big 12 takes. I would love to keep taking some of those, and I definitely still have some to get through, so we'll keep doing that throughout the summer.